Happy New Year and welcome to today's video where I'll show you my personal top 10 favorite HM-2 pedals. So before we start, a little disclaimer here. First and foremost, it's my personal favorite HM-2 pedals. I don't claim to be objective. It's as highly personal and it's my personal taste. Yours might very well differ. You might have a completely other list and that's totally fine. Just my opinion. The second rule, I'm not including the original HM-2 because I'm talking about HM-2 clone pedals or whatever. So no original HM-2 on the list and no Wasserkraft HM-2 on the list. Those are honorable mentions if you might want to call it this way. And the last rule, there's only one pedal per company allowed. As far as the sound examples go, every pedal runs into my Fractal Audio XFX, where I chose the PVH 6160 block ladder lead. I basically zeroed the gain but activated a neutral boost, and then it goes, I set the EQs to my taste, which means I reduced the mids, reduced the bass and cranked the treble a bit. And from there it goes to my Jens Bogren Greasy Beard IR. This is the setup for most of the pedals. If I have a different setup, I will specify it for you. So we start with the ElectroHarmonix Metal Muff with top boost. And this is on the list because actually it's really versatile. You can get a chainsaw sound out of it when you put it in front of a driven amp. You can get a nice distortion sound out of it when you put it in front of a clean amp. And with the top boost, you can get a fuzzy sound if you want it. And I wanted to have a pedal on the list that it's really versatile, and therefore I chose the Metal Muff. These days I prefer it over the MXR full bore metal. I think this was last year on the list. So for dialing in the Metal Muff, I of course chose the HM-2 tone. That means that I cranked the mids and boosted the treble a bit. You could boost it more, but I think it will sound harsh. I have not activated the top boost. Volume is to full, distortion is at 0 and bass is at noon. Yes, it's at noon. And you could crank the bass, but then I think it loses some of the aggression. The Pepas pedals HM Too Many Clones. This is a straight clone made from Pepas pedals in New Zealand, and it's on the list because for one reason it's rather cheap. Second, it's really true to the original, it sounds really close. And the third option, you can easily get it customized by Tony for a little up price, and we can basically add a mid control, a blend control, however you want it. And I have the standard version, I like it, and a custom modded version would be even better. So therefore it's on the list. For the audio of the HM Too Many Clones, I used a pretty classic setup, everything at max and distortion at 9 o'clock. the Aries Effects Merciless Distortion. This pedal isn't available anymore, and it's basically the most Canadian HM2 you could have. It should rather be named Merciless Drive, because it really doesn't have any gain, just a tiny bit. But that's why it's on the list. The sound quality is cool, and when you put it in front of a driven amp, you can, well, have basically more fine-tune the amount of gain you want to have. With some other pedals, it's really difficult to dial it in. You can basically just go 0, 9 o'clock, and then it's basically everything sounds the same. And here you really have a nice range of sounds. For the Merciless Distortion, I used the same settings that I used for the Pepas pedal, everything at max, filth at 9 o'clock. However, this is way less gain than on the Pepas pedal. And well, maybe you hear the difference. I really like it this way. It sounds rather modern. The Swedish Steel by Electric Eye Audio. This one is on the list because it's your typical HM2 clone. We have a 3-band EQ here, so the mids are one more control. And what's interesting about this one is that it has a tight and a boost section. So you basically get 2 pedals in one, which is an HM2 with an overdrive in front of it that you can tighten up or even boost more. And I really like this. This is specifically made for modern HM2 sounds. I don't use this much modern HM2 sounds, but whenever I need to, this is my go-to pedal. And lots of you guys should enjoy it if you're into modern sounds and you like HM2. For the Swedish Steel, I really opted for a modern tone that works with modern riffs. And it's mandatory that you activate the boost here. So I have level max, bass max, middle max. Treble is at 12 o'clock. You could max it, but I think it produces more noise than it benefits the tone. Gain is actually at 0. And when you turn off the boost, it really lacks of distortion and definition. But when you crank it and boost is around 9 o'clock, tight is around 1 o'clock, I think it's pretty drastic. Then you get a really chunky distortion with plenty of gain. AIB Custom FX The More. This is simple. It has awesome artwork, it has one knob, one switch, and it delivers total HM2 madness. You can easily put it in front of a distorted amp. It always sounds good. Because it's so easy to use, it's on the list and it's fairly reasonably priced. And I think this year is also coming out a new version with more controls. I'm really looking forward to this one. Maybe the new one is on the list next year. But for now, I highly suggest checking this out if you want a rather inexpensive, awesome HM2 tone. So, honorable mention here, instead of the More, I could have also chosen the Lich by ARB Custom. It's basically the same layout, just a different flavor. However, this does chainsaw kind of by accident, and this is a dedicated chainsaw, and therefore I choose the More. As far as settings go, well, one knob, one switch. The switch is down. I think it's a bit less noisy, and the one knob is not maxed because I think then it lacks a bit of definition. Therefore, at around 2 o'clock. The Decibelics Angry Sweet version 2. I mean, just look at it. It's mini pedal, HM2 format, it has a blend control, and it has the closest sound to an original HM2 that I have come across yet. So this is how the Boss HM2 Wasserkraft should have been made. The sound quality is superior, the build quality is superior because this basically doesn't have any noise, and with a blend control and not this custom mode I don't like. So this is the true unofficial HM2 Wasserkraft. Highly suggest checking it out. For the Angry Sweet, I used the same setup that I used for the Merciless Distortion as well as the HM2 Many Clones. Everything full, distortion at 9 o'clock. However, here, since we have blend control, I blended a tiny bit of clean signal into the single chain. I think it's 80% Angry Sweet and 20% clean signal. Next up is a plugin. You might call it heresy, you might call it hypocrisy. I don't really care, because if it sounds good, it is good. And the Audiority Heavy Pedal Mark II sounds absolutely brutal. You can relatively easily figure out why it's on my list. I use this, well, most of the time whenever I will record or demo something with an HM2 flavor. I use this pedal because it's so easy to use. We have mix control, which is basically your blend. Then we have a really well functioning gate, and we have different types, so you can basically mod your HM2 sound instantly. Some of them are really good, for instance the Filth or the FX56. The SM-M1 is also really good. Some of them I don't use this much, for instance the Z or the Vampler. But all in all, it's a really awesome plugin. It's my go-to HM2 plugin, and from there I go into basically any amp. Most of the time it sounds good. That's why it's on the list. So for the heavy pedal, I chose the signal chain that I most often use when I'm demoing songs. And this is the heavy pedal with my favorite mode. The noise gate is a tiny bit activated and the mix is a tiny bit decreased, maybe 80-20 again. And this goes into a new amp plugin that I purchased recently. It's from Plugin Alliance, and it's the VH4 plugin. And well, the settings are similar to my settings on the Fractal Audio X effects, which means treble and presence increased and middle and bass decreased. No boost this time, and this goes straight into Jens Bogren Greasy Beard IR. So basically just the amp has changed. And this is basically my demo tone. KMA Audio Machine's Worm 2 or Worm Square. I struggled whether I put the Worm 2 or the Guardian of the Worm on the list, and while the Guardian definitely has more features and well, you can tweak it more, this one is easier, and I think the Guardian might overwhelm some of you. I really enjoy the Worm 2 because for one instance it's smaller, for the second my most favorite option between the KMA EQ curve and the HM-2 EQ curve is now on the front, no, on the back. And if I ever wanted to change the frequencies that those bands are boosting or cutting, I can do it on the back. And therefore, I personally don't need the Guardian of the Worm, don't need the noise gate, etc. So therefore the Worm 2 is on the list. Apart from that, the sound quality is superior. It has an awesome HM2 flavor, blends nicely with my other HM2s, and you can easily get a totally different approach with when you just use the KMA mids. Therefore it's on the list. So as mentioned earlier, honorable mention here, the Guardian of the Worm, if you want to have more control over your tone. However, I can very well deal with the Worm 2. I prefer it over the Worm 1 because the switch is outside. And as far as settings go, the distortion at 9 o'clock level full, the highs I fully decreased, high mids are fully boosted, and the low mids are around 9 o'clock, and the bass, the lows is around 3 o'clock. And as far as the switch go, I activated both EQ styles because I like it a bit more. Little premiere here, this has not been announced yet. I got it and was totally blown away.
This is a prototype by my good friend Daniel from Lichtlam Audio, and it's, well, you might want to call it Breathe Die Mark II. It's awesome. Second place, easily, and I will show you why.
So here it is, and I don't want to spoil you, but I turned the big knobs a bit, I turned the small knobs a bit, I turned the switches a bit, and well, this is the sound that I got. And I'm very certain that you will hear of this pedal in the near future.
So my number one place, if you're a regular viewer of my channel, this is no surprise at all. Yes, I am endorsed by them, but I wouldn't be endorsed if I didn't like their products. And this is now on my pedal board. I use it live with Nightbearer. It's the best HM-2 pedal I've come across. It has the best HM-2 sound. It's, of course, the Lone Wolf Audio Left Hand Breath version 3. Now on last list I put the Left Hand Breath Deluxe version 1 or 2, I'm not sure, on the list, and now switched to the regular because we have basically two superior sounds in one. The one sound is with this knob engaged and the other one is without this knob. Without the knob you get the classic Left Hand Breath Deluxe sound, and with this one the frequencies are slightly shifted up front, and I use it with this setting because it sounds weaker when in solo, but combined with the full band you just cut through and it sounds superior. And now I have it on my board. I played 3-4 shows or 5 shows with it, and I easily had the best sound both on my ears and on stage that I ever had with this pedal. This one was still made by Lone Wolf Audio, but it will be coming back under the Void manufacturing brand, and I'm very sure the sound will be equally good.
So if you're a long-time follower of this channel, the last time I did a top 10, the Left Hand Breath Deluxe actually made place 1, and this time it's not the deluxe version, it's the regular version 3. There is actually a version 3 of the Left Hand Breath Deluxe, and this one also sounds amazingly good. However, the regular version 3 has the possibility via the foot switch to toggle between this sound that this pedal creates and this sound that this pedal creates. You basically have both pedals combined, and this is not possible with this one, and obviously not with this. And therefore it's on place 1. And since this is my main HM-2 that I use with Nightbearer, it's mounted on my pedal board. I can't show it to you here, and I thought, well, why not show you my Nightbearer sound as it goes to the FOH and as it goes into all our in-ear monitoring systems. And the signal chain is different, of course. As far as the Left Hand Breath goes, I dialed in some clean signal via the blend, pretty much actually. I don't have this extreme settings on most of the knobs because I want definition and also aggressiveness and just a tiny chainsaw flavor, or not tiny, mediocre, a middle chainsaw flavor. And then it goes into the FM3. And here I've chosen actually the Archean Bright model. And I A/B'd it against the Block Letter and some other amps, and this one was simply the best. Between the Archean Bright and the Left-Hand Breath is actually a drive block. I've selected the Super OD, that's Boss Super Overdrive emulation. I cranked the volume, tone is at noon, and a slight bit of drive. And from there we go yet again into the Greasy Beard IR. So as with the Heavy Pedal plugin, the IRs are all the same, and you just hear a different amp and well, a drive between both pedals. So please keep in mind, this might not be the greatest chainsaw sound you will hear now, but it's my personal favorite chainsaw live sound, and I wanted to share it with you. So that's my top 10 list. What's your top 10, top 9, top 8, top 7, top 6, top 5, top 4, top 3, top 2, top 1 HM2? Or if you happen to be Terry from HM2 Cult, what's your top 50? Just let me know down in the comment section. And if you by chance want to support this channel and might want to snack the Heavy Pedal, check out the links in the description. Well, and with this said, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. May the force be with you and have a nice day.